Okay, I'm here with head coach Paul O'Neill, a 14-3 victory tonight against Shorter. Coach, tonight opens a 3-game series with the Hawks. A big back half of the game offensively. You're surprised with today's win.
Yeah, I think it's like what you just said. We had a big back. The second half of the game is when we really started playing. We started off really slow, really cold. We didn't do a whole lot of things correct in the first half of the game, and then the second half got there is when we really started hitting our stride.
Jacob Smith tonight, career high 11 strikeouts.
Well, when he got ahead, I thought he was really good, but in the first 5 innings, it seemed like every count was a 2-1 count, 3-1 count. You know, the ball was up. You know, I don't know how many hits they had in the first 5 innings, but I bet you they had 8 of their 10 hits were in the first 5 innings.
With the big knock there. Game, you guys kind of turned it around.
Well, I'll tell you this much. JD had an excellent practice yesterday. Everything that we did yesterday at practice, JD was on point with it. Whether it was drag bunting for a hit, you know, hit and run, whatever we were doing yesterday, JD was ready to play yesterday, and he came out today, and I'm glad to see him hit a knock, got a couple of hits. I told the guys after the game it was the bottom of our lineup is what got us going. That's what brought us through. The top of the lineup, minus Hayden, didn't do anything really for us. You know, and that's, you know, I guess that's a good thing that the bottom, you know, produced tonight, and maybe we're starting to turn the corner. We can get the top and the bottom going, and we can have a more complete type of lineup.
Yeah, I kind of alluded to that. You know, how important is it for the bottom of the order to make strides like this as the season keeps going deeper and deeper?
I mean, it's huge. I mean, can we turn the lineup over? You know, can we score runs with the bottom of the lineup? That's just an added bonus. But then you need the top to be rocking and rolling. You need Danny Stevens to continue to be on base all the time. You need Hayden Davis getting hits. You need, you know, Mason Mosley had a bad night tonight. Yep. You know, we need him to be going for us. And then, of course, you know, Landon's been having a MVP-type season, you know, for us all year. We need him to stay hot. You know, that's real important. And then Jernigan. I mean, Jernigan didn't do anything tonight, you know. So, I mean, those guys were zeros tonight. And we still, you know, scored, you know, I don't know how many runs we scored tonight. We scored 14 runs without those guys really doing what they normally do. So maybe that's a good thing.
You mentioned specifically Landon Lucas, not his best game tonight, but like you said, having a hot year. Just what have you seen this year compared to last year? He's already got more hits this year than overall.
Well, the biggest thing for him this year versus last year is his attitude. He's got a better attitude. He's working harder. He worked harder in the weight room in the fall. And he's really trying to stay in the strike zone. I mean, he's a very aggressive hitter. He wants to get a hit every single time he goes up there, and he's his own worst enemy. 9 out of 10 times when he makes an out, it's usually him swinging out of the strike zone. I wish I could look up on the TrackMan and see, you know, balls in play that are balls that he's put in play this year, because I'm sure that's a high percentage of his outs. You know, and so he's done a better job of it this year than last year, and he's also used the other side of the field. And that's huge. I mean, he's used right center field. He's even got some home runs to that side of the field. And he's got to continue to do that because, I mean, people are going to spin him away and they're going to throw fastballs away. And you got to use that side, you know, for it. But, you know, I'm just proud to see the year that he's having and seeing that he's healthy and, you know, his arm feels better. And, you know, everything is a big turnaround from a year ago.
And then we're back at it tomorrow. How important is it to complete the sweep?
Well, we got to win the first game first before you can sweep. Yeah. You know, so that's a big thing. So we got to, you know, have a good round of batting practice, a good round of prep, you know, a good round of ground balls and getting ourselves ready to go. It's going to be cold tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a 30-degree swing with the weather tomorrow. So it's going to be totally different out here. The wind's going to be blowing in from the scoreboard and from the concession stand or the bathrooms down there by softball. So it's going to be a totally different ballpark tomorrow than it was tonight. So we've got to come ready to play. We got to come with a little bit of attitude, and we got to be the team that wants to be out here the most.
All right, that's it. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.